Welcome to the Mizell Show.
An inspiration for a new generation.
Hi, I'm Alana Mizell, a loving mother of two, a devoted wife to Stephen, and an entrepreneur helping women realize their dreams and potential.
And I'm Stephen Mizell, caring father of two, a devoted husband to Alana, and a driving force to help young men prepare for life after college football.
And if that wasn't enough, we're a biracial couple.
She was raised in the North, but I was raised in the South.
The only thing normal about our lives. Who am I kidding? It's never normal around here. Join us for the Mizell Show.
Right now. Yeah, we are back on the Mizell Show.
We are back. Literally before we press record, I was like, how long has it been?
Well, we really wanted you guys to really hone in and soak in that last episode. It was so good. It was so good. We've been dropped.
It
one in
was
4
really
weeks.
good. We've been through it.
We have been through it, but like
in like a different. It's just like a different season. We just really. It was a bandwidth situation.
It was a bandwidth. But when we started this in COVID, we always said, we want to give you guys the best in us. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to just check the box to say, oh, we need to do a show this week. Let's just do something.
Until this is our full-time job. We're just going to...
Yeah.
We got to just fit it in.
Now, if you want to call us to sponsor us, we have a number that we need to have in order to do this full-time. So just let me know how you're feeling.
That was a weird tone. I don't think I've ever heard you sound like that.
Yeah, well,
anyway, so
quick recap. You've read 9 books since the last episode.
I have finished 10 books this year.
Jeez.
And I'm on my 11th. So quite a few. Okay, Happy Place was a killer book. I gotta pull
You
up
were
my
very
Goodreads.
patient with Happy Place because you got it from our shout out to our Memphis Public Library.
I don't know
you
why.
Waited. But you waited though.
I've bought other books, but for some reason I was like, I'm gonna wait for this one.
And you've bought a few books.
Also because I just didn't want to get it as soon as it came out because that's what I did with People You Meet on Vacation, and I finished it in 24 hours. So I even I intentionally took 3 days. That's me taking my time.
Taking your time on a book, yes.
But I would say, of my books that I've read, a very surprisingly spicy one, very smutty.
So Hannah Grace's books, you stumbled upon her at Target, right? This is not something you knew about.
No, I had somebody else, I don't remember where, had mentioned it. Don't be deceived by the cover because it's very cartoon, illustratory looking. But
it's a good book. And she's a series of these, right?
It's smutty.
I don't know what smutty means.
That means like
rated R?
Yes.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to do ratings. Rated R.
It's rated R.
Rated R. Okay.
The first one is called Icebreaker. The second one it's graphic.
Are you turning red right now? Can you give me details? As they talk about
I cannot give you details on the podcast. I can give you details not on the mic.
Got it. Okay.
It's spicy.
It's spicy. But
like X pepper spicy.
Briggs always asks Alexa, "What's the hottest pepper?" She's like, "X pepper." It's still the same one, Briggs.
Right.
But
so Icebreaker and Wildfire are the first two. The third one comes out this year, and that's by Hannah Grace.
Okay.
But I would say my favorite book so far this year is Nora Goes Off Script.
Ooh. And who's that artist?
Oh. Annabelle.
Annabelle Mahogany?
I don't know.
Something?
Monaghan?
If you type in Nora Goes Off Script, it'll come up. So there you go.
Right. And then, it's a really good one. That's a really good one. Happy Place was fantastic.
Yes.
It was not the atypical Emily Henry book that was just like rom-com focused, had a lot of friendship, love kind of built into it, which was really good. Strong female lead in that book and in Nora Goes Off Script.
Okay. Well, no, it's really good.
So good.
I haven't read anything. Just still listening to different.
Okay, but we've been watching. We just finished.
Yeah, what show? We finished the morning show. Great job, Apple TV.
So good.
So good.
So good. We're ready for the next season.
Ready for the next one. We got to wait.
I don't even
patient.
think they've even started recording.
Probably
yet.
not. But we did finish the morning show.
Yeah.
And the weekends for the Mizells are like our show. We will watch a show, but during the week it's like let's find some documentary kind of vibes and watch Alana tends to fall asleep, so it took us a week to watch a 3-series episode.
Listen.
But Get Gotti on Netflix was phenomenal.
Which also, that is not really good to fall asleep watching TV, but we're just going to let that go.
We're not going to say, sometimes season of life, you do what you do. But Get Gotti on Netflix was amazing.
It was so good.
It was such a detailed storytelling and breaking it down from all angles of the New York Mafia. And if you don't have Netflix, ask a friend. But it's a great...
Ask a friend for their login.
It's a great documentary.
It's about the Gambino crime family.
Yes.
And it was fantastic.
And it's fantastic because it also breaks into pop culture and talks about how he crossed over from, mobs, organized crime is like low key, don't really talk about it, but he rose to fame.
Right, like people knew that organized crime existed, but it wasn't really... Like, celebrities and Hollywood weren't hanging out with organized crime.
Yeah.
And he was the first one to kind of cross that boundary.
Cross over. Like, crazy. Like, he would have a ton of Instagram followers. All this happened when Instagram was out.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, he would have flocking. And last but not least, music. Shouts out to Cody Lee. The song Changes from AGT.
Oh, my gosh. We just listened to that.
My goodness.
It's so... Yeah, AGT. He's a blind musician.
Blind autistic musician.
A blind autistic musician. And
his voice
the piano.
is incredible.
Yo.
So in the lyrics of it, he wrote this song called Changes, and you will, if you read the... Yeah.
If you don't cry, like, I don't know what's wrong with
Read
your
the lyrics, do the little thing on Apple that you can, like, read the lyrics and listen to the song.
Like, we've done lyrical motivations where Steve and I will go through songs. I don't think I could do it.
I think we should do it.
I don't think I physically could get through an episode like that.
I think you could. Maybe.
I don't know. I think I'd have to be heavily medicated.
Oh my goodness. Well, speaking of books that you've been reading, you said your favorite book was Nora Off Script.
Nora Goes Off Script.
Nora Goes Off Script. And it is a phenomenal book, which you've told me, she gave me the Cliff Notes, people, was about a woman in power. Like, she went from being like kind of a frou-frou writer and like took control of her story.
So, yes, without giving too much of the book. It is a newer release. So she kind of takes hold of her own story and really claims ownership of her life and her family. And on that note...
It's International Women's History Month?
Yes.
Yes.
It is.
Shout out to Women's History Month. March.
And one of the biggest things that we are actually doing at our regular jobs, like the jobs that pay us, is talking about women going back to the office after having kids.
Yeah, I think that was something that really hit me because when women and men, because it's a joint decision to have a child, you plan.
It is.
Then
how come we don't have any?
Oh, no, we're not. This is not the episode for that. We could go there if you wanted to, but
how come you have choices and we don't?
Okay,
carry
on. What I was saying is that it. Technically,
technically we do have choices, but
it's a joint effort.
Anyway.
And when you go into having a child, it's like, hey, let's plan. We have 9 months. Let's talk to my boss. And my boss says, hey, depending on where you work and where you live, country, region, you can get some time off. Blew my mind that the European countries get how long do they get off?
Depends on the country. But one in particular that we recently connected with got 9 months of maternity leave.
9 months.
And her jaw hit the floor when I said the max I could get was 3 months.
3 months. And so we say all this because people always think through the front end. Like, hey, she's going to be off. Let's cover her job when she leaves. It's about planning. But they never say, hey, she's back. How do we talk through?
Right. She's back, but she's not back.
Exactly.
Like
it's like, hey, Lon, you had a baby. Great. Now let's get the spreadsheet going.
Right. So for women, it takes 2 years for your body to come back, your uterus to shrink back down, 2 full years. And
2 years.
2 years, and your hormones to re-regulate. That's if you don't have, other outside factors causing your hormones to not re-regulate. So 2 full years. So you're not going to come close to back to yourself for 2 years. And then you also have to think the dynamics of a human, like that person as a mother is forever changed.
Yes. And I don't care if it's the first child, third child, fifth child. It's always going to be different every single time.
You're still changing the family dynamic every time a new person enters. And yeah, I just think that in America specifically, I can't speak for other countries, but we just do a really poor job at understanding that there has been a shift and the shift needs to be addressed. On top of that, we do a really poor job at recognizing that a woman or family has had a shift before they even have a child.
Yeah.
So miscarriages, infertility, those kinds of appointments that somebody has to go to make sure that they can have kids, or if they're struggling to have kids. I was blessed to be at an organization when we were having children that supported families. Like, families were always first.
Yeah.
I was in education. Like, of course, they're for the kids.
Yeah.
But it allowed me I had to be a little bit more open with my boss so that she knew what was going on.
Yeah.
When we had our first miscarriage, when we were struggling with infertility and having to go to those appointments. And at the time, I was actually hourly. And thankfully, I had a boss that was like, just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, just don't worry about it. But that's not always the narrative.
Yeah.
And what's interesting also is there are so many fathers or partners that choose to not go to those appointments. So then their jobs are not affected. And we were blessed enough for you to also be in education and have so many hours kind of banked in that you could be there to support me. But for a lot of people, that's not the case. It's
not the case, but I guess, this is a great dialogue for Women's History Month. So I guess my question to you is, when you're a woman in this role, when do you feel that you want to have that discussion? Some people are like, well, I don't care about my job enough to talk to my manager about it. But like,
right. And if you don't, then more than likely you're planning to not stay after you have a child anyway.
That's very true. But how do you approach your manager on that front end to say, hey, we're planning to have a child? Do you say like, hey, we are thinking about that? But I think the communication piece...
It depends on the person.
Yeah.
And it depends on the manager. I think it's easier to have a discussion with a female manager, female to female. I think it's also easier to have a discussion with a female who has had children. Or... yeah, I mean, that, like, somebody who has been there, it's always going to be easier to have the conversation with.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I really feel that from even a male perspective, if my manager's a man or my manager's a woman, I feel the open communication. Yes, this might not be your dream job or you're going to be there that long, but you want to have the conversation on the front end to give that manager, that person, the chance to be compassionate. Now they go in and they blow you off. Well, you did what you're supposed to do and have that conversation. Because if you experience infertility, if you experience miscarriages, if you experience that heartache, you want them to be in the loop to say, hey, I'm taking some time off because we are struggling and this is what we are going through, because that's something that I think we personally did a very good job of, because we knew how important our family was.
Yeah, and I think it depends on the person.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the unit. For us, the other thing is Stephen and I have always known and connected with the other person's manager. Yeah. Always. Stephen knows my manager now. Yes, we work at the same place, but even every manager I've had, Stephen has known and connected with, and vice versa. To where if I needed to get the phone number of your manager, I could and pick up the phone if something happened.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that you need, like, I needed to have a full-blown loving relationship, like be good friends with these managers. No, it's just a matter of if something happened, and when things did happen, Stephen could pick up the phone and have the conversation that I emotionally, physically, mentally could not have. Like, I could not carry that at the time. And I think that's important to at least have met, have communicated, not even physically meet, but even communicate, hey, nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you as far as a manager goes, so that if something does happen and you've chosen to not say, like, I haven't gone to my manager and I'm like, hey, we're thinking about having kids. That's also a really vulnerable conversation. For us, it took 2 years.
Yeah.
And so luckily I had a manager that had empathy and compassion and didn't ask me every other month, hey, how's the kid front going? It's also pretty much asking about our sex life. Like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But, luckily she had the taste enough to not continuously ask that, and knew that when the time came, I would voice that we were pregnant. But at the same time, because we had those conversations, Stephen can pick up the phone.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. So I guess my question to you is, do you feel the return to work is such a, let's say, bad thing in America, or not so much a good thing in America because of the front end conversation, or do people just not understand what it takes to have a child and they just think the woman's going to come back and be okay?
Healing and wellness and motivation is huge for the Mizell Show. And recently we had New Day Healing and Wellness on the podcast. We are super, super excited to be able to offer you guys a discount code under the name Mizell. If you hop into New Day Healing and Wellness, you can go to Red Light, you can go to the sauna, you can do the salt booth. They have so many different things to offer, and we're just so excited for you guys to be able to experience some wellness of your own. I think that is so vastly different for every single female.
Yeah.
And their relationship to their career, that we can't continue to put a blanket idea of what women coming back need to look like. I also think as females, we have done a poor job at preparing those around us for going back to work. There are not support programs. There's not support systems. There's not employee relations people in the workforce so that women can connect with other women, or even have, there's not specifically designed life coaches for women going back to work, to where a woman can have a third party that she can voice her concerns to and not feel judged about the environment that she's going back in, or talk to a woman who has been through it from like maybe a coaching perspective that can say, you know what, those feelings are normal.
Yeah.
Or you're hitting a point to where I think we need to escalate this to maybe a psychologist.
Yeah.
And there's a fine line between those two, because you're also dealing with, there's baby blues, you're regulating hormones. We can't continue to look at women on a 24-hour cycle like men do. Women function in a 28 to 35-day cycle. And we do that in every facet of a female. And then when you layer in the disruption of hormones that can happen with children, we just do a really poor job in it. I think as women, we've done a disservice to the next generation in creating programs and platforms for there to be resources for the next group of women that are having kids.
And I think that's so powerful, because as we look at different pockets of, let's say, demographics, like the women population needs to continue to drive this, but I feel like there's a barrier or a disconnect in terms of like, why haven't we done this together yet? And I feel the same way as an African-American male. You're like, why haven't we come together and done X, Y, Z? But there's so much, I'm not going to say competition, but there's so much that like, hey, this guy might need this, but this one doesn't, so I'm going to just power through. And I do feel as you become more passionate about this, it is definitely a void in the workplace for women who are recently getting back into the workforce. You recently had a conversation with a friend. She just reached out to you because she knew, but her company didn't provide it. It was just her saying, hey, I would love some help and some questions.
Yeah, I've actually had quite a few people, because I've been open on platforms and on this podcast about different struggles that we've been through, whether it be mental health or miscarriage. I've had people that are honestly just acquaintances reach out and like, hey, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm going through, what do I have to expect? And when you go through something like a miscarriage, the only people that can understand it is somebody who's been through it. There's no way around that.
Yeah.
Literally, there's no way around it. There are people that can empathize, but you cannot understand it until you've been through it, unfortunately. It's also a conversation that not many people have. People don't admit or voice that they've had it because it is so raw and painful.
Yeah.
And as women, there's been this narrative that there's something wrong with me because we've lost the child, which is, it's just not true.
Not true. Yeah.
It's just not true. And I think the same thing goes as women try to go back to the workforce or have a balance of career and mom. And then you layer in the societal picture of perfect Instagram and perfect Pinterest, where not only do you need to work a full-time job, you need to be the best mom you can be and throw the bang-in birthday parties.
Yeah.
So of course, we're not having that discussion because we're too busy trying to look the best, be the best, feel the best, because that's what everybody else is doing, without having the conversation of, no, it sucks.
Yeah.
Just flat out, it sucks. You're going to cry the entire first day.
Yeah.
People are going to want to check in to see how the baby's doing. You're going to lose it. You're just going to start crying all over again. And nothing is going to fix it. And then you layer in the fact that most women are then pumping at work.
Yeah.
So then I've got to look at pictures of my baby while I'm trying to work and pump milk for them while they're being cared for by somebody else.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here listening to you because it is true, and that is the narrative that we continue to see. And when you break it down, we have been watching our Sweet Adele Loves Zoo shows. We've been watching the San Diego Zoo. We've been watching. We actually went to the Memphis Zoo last weekend, but in our call with our colleague who is in Europe, you said, in the wild they don't even take their kids away at a certain age point.
Right. You don't take away a dog from its mother if you're breeding it till 8 to 12 weeks.
Yeah.
A dog.
Yeah.
But we expect humanity to do the same.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that the biggest thing that you also, you have people just, I'm not going to say things are right back to normal, but there are people out there that say, oh, she's back, so it's right back to normal, right back in the saddle.
Although I worked for education, it was right back to normal. I came back in the heat of re-enrollment. I was in admissions. And, a part of that is I didn't voice the problems that I had after Adele. Now, after Briggs, thankfully, Stephen was able to go in and have a conversation just about how hard of a time I was having in postpartum depression. So that was different.
Yeah.
Every child is going to be different, but when I came back after Adele, it was, oh, good, she's back. Now she can fix all these things that went wrong for the 3 months.
Yeah.
If everything is a fire in the 3 months that somebody is gone, you are running your business wrong.
That's true.
And I'm not saying that every employee isn't valuable. That's not what I'm saying. But if there has been such poor training and management of the everyday workflow that one person can't be removed for 3+ months and then come back to a stable environment, you are mismanaging the training and development of your organization.
Yeah, that's very true. So, as we had this conversation, we also want people to think through this. So what are two things you would say you would give someone who is maybe struggling or about to go back to work, and they're like, he listens to this podcast and they're like, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
What should they do?
Oh gosh, there's so many things. I think one of the biggest things that I've seen is women just think that, they have to go back on a Monday and they have not been without their child for even an hour or two before that. You've got, even if it means mom's coming over, grandmother, whoever, you leave them with your spouse, their dad put half those genes.
Sure did.
If he cannot parent his kid for you to go take 3 hours somewhere and then come back, we have another discussion to have. But I would say definitely take the time, manage it out, so then you have a little bit of separate time from your baby before it's an 8-hour stretch.
That's a very good point.
You're gonna cry the whole time.
Yeah.
The first time you were not without your child, you are going to feel like your entire body has been ripped out of you.
Yeah. Like
your soul and heart are on the pavement and people are just driving over it. That's literally what it feels like.
That's a very good point. Like, even if you just drive to the parking lot and watch Netflix in the car for an hour or two, leave and see what it feels like to leave your child instead of the first day.
Heaven forbid, one, you don't want to go back to work to begin with. I don't care how great your career is. You just don't.
You have that connection with your child. Yeah.
When you have that connection, and when you're a mother and the maternal instincts, you don't.
Yeah.
That doesn't, I would have preferred to take my kid with me and go do the work.
Yeah.
I'm fine as long as I can see you.
Yeah.
I know you're breathing. Mm-hmm. I'm good. You're in my vicinity.
Yeah.
So taking some time, layer it in, maybe increase the time. Start with 30 minutes, then do an hour, then do, the first one, maybe you're just going to Starbucks to get some coffee and you're coming right back. Or Dunkin'. I'm a Dunkin' girl.
She is.
I would say that is the first thing.
That's a good point. Yes.
Because no matter what, like I said, it is perfect imagery for those that are already mothers. it is literally like somebody has taken all of your insides out, thrown it on the pavement, and people are just driving over it.
Jeez. Yeah.
That's what it. That's literally what it feels like.
Yeah.
My kids are back resting.
Yeah.
And I'm like reliving it, and I'm like,
yeah.
Like, I'm gonna can't breathe. And that's my experience. I think I've talked to some other moms. That's how it feels.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, you got to do it again when they go to kindergarten. And I don't know, even if they've been in daycare the whole time, when they go to kindergarten, it's a new ball game. It's a new ball game. They're now grown-ups. They're going to college next week. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
And you're preparing them. I heard this on another podcast it was by Jade Bennett on Instagram. She said, the time that I have with you is very minimal. And my job is to guide you and give you some of the principles that I've learned in my life. And so if you are not around me enough for me to guide you, I have failed you as a mother.
That's heavy.
It's true.
Yeah, it's true, though.
Like, yes, I want to be your parent, but ultimately I am guiding you through life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm giving you the choices in front of you because I can see them because I've been there already. Yeah. And I think that's the same thing with mothers. Mm-hmm. I've been there already. Yeah. Let me give you and show you the choices that are in front of you. Mm-hmm. That I have experienced, so then you don't have to figure those out by yourself.
Yeah.
Let another mother that you are close to help guide you. Mm-hmm. Let a therapist or a life coach or somebody who specializes in these type things help guide you before it's time to go back. It is going to feel overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Maybe those times of you separating from your child are to go to therapy for 30 minutes to an hour. It's telehealth, whatever it is, to start to prepare emotionally, physically, mentally to go back to work if that's what's in store for you. And even if it's not, being able to have that time away from your child is also really important for your own personal development. You are still a person and were a person before. You will be a person after you have your children. So taking care of yourself is the greatest thing that you can do for your kids. Yeah. So if that means a 30-minute telehealth, although that feels super overwhelming, I think that's one of the greatest things that you can do.
I agree with you. Yeah. So I think that's a great point in terms of you setting a boundary, leaving. Don't just go from 0 to 100 from like you were with your kid up until Sunday and then Monday you're 8 hours away. What's one more thing you would say?
Well, and one of the things that I've been working on with one of my dear friends she's recently going back to work, is like we're building in things. Yeah. I think so many times as moms and women, we want to come in guns blazing. Part of the going back to work, picking up right where you left off is this idea that we can do that. Mm-hmm. You can't. So you just can't. Like, you're not the same person. Yeah. Like, a human being was taken out of your body.
Yep. You growth a human being
12 weeks ago, and before that you were growing them for 10 months. Yeah. Like, no. Whoever says 9, they're wrong. Calculate the weeks. Anyway, so I would say what we've been working on is building little things in. We started 2 weeks before she went back and started building in the time away, but also made that time intentional. Yeah. It was going to Starbucks with affirmations that made her feel more like a human, more like a good mom, those kinds of things. And then the next week we added in another layer of, okay, it's a little bit longer, but now we're doing this. Mm-hmm. And then the next week we're adding in this. So it's these building blocks, and feel free to reach out to me or whomever, but think through, okay, what are the building blocks that I need and can add in, whether that be once a week, whether that be once a month, till I feel like I'm like, okay, I'm not the same. Yeah. But I'm feeling more myself.
And that's critical.
Yeah.
No, I think those are very good kind of talking points. And Alana did say this, we have used our platform and she is using her platform. So if you know someone, or you are gearing up, or you're thinking about this, or you're already back at work and you're struggling, feel free to reach out to her via Instagram, via TikTok. If you want to be professional, message her on LinkedIn. Okay. You know what I'm saying? But feel free.
Not the professional business platform.
I mean, hey, but still, I think it's a great way to do. And as a supportive husband, I think you males can also really take heed to these things to help that transition, because more than likely it is a joint venture in your household. If your wife is going back to work, if you are helping support her with her career, grow her career, in order to keep that trajectory and in order for her to enjoy what she's doing, she has to be able to transition back to work, and she needs your support.
Well, Mother's Day is coming up. It's in May for the dads that are new or don't know. Maybe it's, planning time, building in those times, or maybe it's even finding a resource for her that you think she would connect well with.
Speaking of that, if you are in the Memphis area, feel free to go buy a New Day for Mother's Day. Use the Mizell Show for the code and get 50% off a session. Be a great thing. A lot of great options. When Mother's Day is coming.
And there you can bring your baby with you.
Yes. Jasmine and crew are very family friendly there.
Yeah.
So we are back. And so we appreciate you guys. Happy Women's History Month. We will continue to speak on this. It's something that we are very passionate about, and we appreciate you guys for listening.
Thanks, guys. So if you guys are enjoying this, definitely leave us a review. Give us the feedback. If there's something you guys want us to talk about, reach out to us on our website at themizellshow.com. There is a contact section. You can put it in there. We would love to hear about it. Or you can always go over to Instagram at The Mizell Show. Also, as always, don't forget to screenshot this episode and just add it to your stories and tag us on Instagram, on Facebook at The Mizell Show. Thanks, guys. Are you loving The Mizell Show? Well, we love you all. And did you know that you can have me and Steven talk to your team or a group of 25 of your friends? All it takes is 25 people showing up on either a Zoom call, a Facebook Live, or really anywhere. Hopefully in person sooner rather than later. But how do you get us? So all you have to do is email themizellshow@gmail.com, or you can direct message us on Instagram at The Mizell Show.